Hashcoin. Hashcoin is a protocol. It's a piece of software, and I'm going to try and make this as non-technical as possible. As a piece of software, this lives in a distributed, decentralized system. Now, this system is not owned by any single entity, so it is decentralized in the fact that it's peer-to-peer, and the system, much like the internet works today, is not owned by any single person. So it's being gifted by us to the community, and we want the community to continue developing it. So very simply, that's what the protocol is, but Hashcoin itself is much more than that. Hashcoin is also a digital currency, and it's a cryptographic currency, so it uses computational hashing power of computers and the computer networks and distributed networks, whether that's your GPU, which is your graphics power unit, which is your graphics card in the back of your computers, or whether you use your CPU, which is your central processing unit in your computers, or if you use existing technology from the Bitcoin industry, where people have already invested in hardware specifically for mining the algorithm. Now, the algorithm that we use for hashing hashcoins and Bitcoins are exactly the same. So that's the only, we use this particularly because there is an existing amount of hardware out there already. So we've got 5 years worth of development of hardware that is already in the ecosystem that we can draw upon to actually make and mine and secure the network. So we're creating hash coins by this network and by this hashing and by these big computational mining pools that already exist. So we are plugging into the system that already exists, but we've appended it for general use. So it's the first proper real-time cryptocurrency. And then as an organization, we, as it goes out into the ether and people start adopting it, what we would like to do from there on, we have a big wish list, but again, it's for the people. And here we have a dedicated piece of kit. This is an application-specific integrated mining machine, and this will mine hash coins at around 750 gigahashes per second. And this has been built specifically for doing the SHA-256B algorithm. Very, very good and very, very fast. So there's lots of this hardware now built originally for the Bitcoin mining system, but because it uses the same hashing power to actually create and decentralize the system, we can use the same hardware, so the hardware already exists. My journey started in January of 2009 when I started an organization called Theoretics. The Theoretics Consortium is an organization, it's a group. It started off as a group of 14 theoretical computer scientists, which included myself as chairman. And the premise of my ideas at the time, which has now followed various different tangents along the way, so it's been a fair journey, but we started off doing mathematical computations for large data sets for banking systems, then went on to medical systems, and then I got engrossed for a period of about 4 years now, up until the end of last year, working with how we transport information that is pertained in DNA results. So how does an individual capture and carry and monitor and use this information, reams and reams of information, and how do we make sense of that? So that's where my remit started, and then many of our members, including myself from 2009 onwards, were privy to the early concepts of Bitcoin. And we've seen the Bitcoin movement just explode. Some of us feel like proud fathers. Some of us have seen certain issues that have arisen, and it's been very, very organic, the growth. And it's something that was just put out there, and the spark has just turned into this raging torrent. So from that perspective, Bitcoin that people now know and are now starting to love, is something that as an organisation we've been privy to. We've been part of its generation. Some of our members are also heading some of the update projects. Now, one of the biggest frustrations from my perspective, and the reason why Hashcoin even exists today, is the nature of the beasts, which is peer-to-peer, networked, decentralized cryptocurrency. In theory, is magical, it's wonderful, and there's certainly a place in society, and that proof of concept has now been proven to be right the first time. But there is a few inherent problems when you start to look under the covers that we think that we have fixed. The big problem with an organisation that is based by lots of different developers, and it's a developers community, is any change for request has to be approved by the populace. It has to be 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, or 70% of the populace must agree to any changes. So changes to something which is now 5 years old and as a piece of software is kind of working, but it's not doing the things that society wants it to do. Well, the great thing about networked distributed software is that you can make forks and you can go off and do parallel development. So for a period of 2 years now, Theoretics has been doing parallel forking and development of the original Bitcoin protocol. What we envisaged from day one was that we wanted there to be a real-time element to transactions. Hashcoin is not just a payment method; it's also a currency, and it's also it's a commodity. It's a tradable. It has value. Working with decentralized systems and the way that crowdfunder works, there's lots of overlap in the way of thinking, the way that we think about banking, the way that we think about money. Everything is kind of tied in, so it seems very natural to ask an organization, a community of like-minded people to say, that's really cool, that's what I want, and to be able to give as much and feel their part of that system as possible, which is why I'm completely confident that the crowdfunding for this part of the project will be successful. We have lots to do, and it's my job to make sure to take full, as custodian of this project, to make sure that I'm fully responsible for its success. It's not in a position yet that we can gift it to everybody to use, so it's not a piece of beta-tested software. We're very close to it, but we need funding for our network of architects to be able to come in and put that on a piece of testable hardware so that we can release it into the cloud. So it's really a case of making it market ready. We've done all the proof of concept that we need. A lot of that is Bitcoin itself, is proof of concept. We know there is a market for it. This now is a process of what happens next. It's really exciting to be part of the project, but we just need that smaller amount of money just to get us going. So it really is a seed, and if you want to help us sow that seed, come along for the journey. Where do I see us in 5 years' time? Good question. If you want to base it on known knowns, personally I only work on 2 or 3 years at a time, because I work in frameworks called an agile methodology, and these methodologies that I use day to day to produce the technology and these computational algorithms that get released into the system, to be able to do that, we've worked at the cutting edge end of releasable entities. So everything's broken down. It's very, very granular, the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. So for us to say where we'll be in 3 years' time is about as far as we can go. 5 years, who knows? In the back of my mind, I know where I would like us to be. And I say us, again, I feel like I'm custodian of the project, but it's not. It's a community project. It's for everybody to own, and it's for everybody to be a piece of. And I hope in future that people will be synonymous with the methodologies and understand that from the very beginning, the seed that was set, and say, yeah, I was part of that. Because we're going to be using it all the time. It may have a different name. People may fork and create something and develop something in parallel that's even better. Who knows? For me, the exciting thing about the whole project are the things that we haven't thought of. We've thought of so many things within this framework that we've built. And we're so close to having a releasable product that we can be proud of. And every day we think of, what if this happens? What if that happens? So it's all these what ifs. And it's not a negative thing. Every time we think of something, we build something into this protocol that allows us to not have that problem in the future. So the way that money works now, the way that banking works, the way that we transfer things, I'll give you an example. The other day I was in a restaurant and there were three of us going four ways because there was another person who left some cash on the table to pay for a meal. And it should be really easy for a payment system to say, well, this is my percentage, that's my half. And I've already thought of and created an app to do that using Hashcoin. I did that one evening last Thursday. This is a very, very small piece of functionality that can be appended into all of the middleware that will support the protocol itself. So, yes, the protocol is the system, but that's just the foundation of everything that will be built upon it. I can think of so many applications and things that we use day to day. I mean, we always use these PDAs and everyone's using smartphones. For us to be able to use applications in day to day that you wouldn't dream of not having in 5 years' time, it's the things that we haven't thought of yet are the most exciting things. So tomorrow, who knows what I'll be doing.